had a life-altering experience, which was an accident with my show horse and my youngest daughter. And my daughter was in the arena riding her horse, and in lineup, the horse reared in the air. Now, the number one cause of a rider's death is a horse falling and crushing them. So I had a little 50-pound child, a 2,000-pound horse. No one had taught my daughter that if your horse rears, just jump off to the side, go to safety. So she is literally hanging from the reins, dangling like a 50-pound bomb, pulling this horse over backwards. So it was inevitable, but the horse, feeling where my daughter was sliding to the left of the horse, squatted on her left hind leg and pushed herself as hard as she could to the right. Now, it wasn't a lot, but it was just enough so that when the horse toppled over and hit the ground, I couldn't see space between the horse and the rider. I jumped over the railing. By the time I got there, the horse had caught her breath and stood back up again. My daughter was on the ground, not moving. By the grace of God, she was fine. She never got crushed. She never got injured except for her pride.
Visit faithandfreedom.tv and download the Faith and Freedom TV app today. Deception floods our airwaves, but Faith and Freedom TV fights back with truth. Our bold content, news, shows, Bible teachings, worship, and films shines with biblical conviction and patriotic courage, free from globalist lies. We empower Christian patriot creators to share faith and liberty. Access thousands of videos on Roku, FireTV, Apple TV, Android, and iOS. Join the battle at faithandfreedom.tv.
At Operation Grow Without Cancer, we believe every journey deserves hope, truth, and freedom of choice. In a world clouded by conventional wisdom, we're shining a light on natural health strategies long kept in the shadows. Together, we can embrace healing, share knowledge, and move toward a future free from cancer. Welcome to Hidden Healings Uncensored. I'm here with my great friend, my close friend, Dr. Marlene Siegel. Many of you may not have known Marlene before on this network, but she is an amazing woman who does amazing things for our pet friends. She's a natural healer. She's a speaker. She's a writer. She's so much more. But I want to introduce you to my good friend, Dr. Marlene Siegel.
Hey, John, so good to be with you. I wish we were in person, but this is the next best thing.
Well, yeah, you made something special today. That's why I saved this for you to say this. I was going to tell you before the pre-show, but they did this special thing because it happens to be my 60th birthday coming up on Saturday. And they made this little jar here. It says, "Loving thoughts from near and far for John Richardson." And I was told by Jan that you were one of the very first people that returned the little note in here. Now, there's many notes in here. I didn't know that so many people even knew me, let alone liked me enough to write a little note. But I'm so excited to read it later. But thank you from the bottom of my heart. You added to making that special. Jan wanted to make sure, we call her Mama Bear. She wanted to make sure that I knew that you were one of the first people to return it, and that so I'm honored. I felt really honored. It was a completely surprise. I'm not usually surprised, so they did a shindig out there. But my audience knows that about me. They hear this from me, so I want them to hear about you. So just like it's the first time that someone's ever seen you, because we've had 8,000 or 10,000 people watching for the very first time on the Braveheart Network, and you can download the app on the App Store on your phone. You can download Braveheart Nation right there, and you'll find it, and you can watch free of charge all these different podcasts. And you have a friend that also is now on the Braveheart Nation, and maybe someday Dr. Marlene Siegel will have a show. But today it's all about you. And so tell my audience, our audience, about Dr. Marlene Siegel and what is your passions.
So I am a integrated veterinarian, and more appropriately, I would say I practice bioregulatory medicine. And the differentiating factor there is that I seek and identify the root cause or causes of dis-ease. And I'm saying that very intentionally because I don't think there's actually disease in the world. I think it is dis-ease, meaning the body is not in balance. And when that happens, there's always an underlying cause. So I started practicing veterinary medicine 40 years ago. I was 5 when I
No,
graduated.
you're not. No, you're not even 40 years old. What are you talking about? That's not. No. All right, man. Settle
I'm
down,
10
man.
years
Settle
older
down.
than you. You're only turning 60. I'm turning 70.
Oh, no
So,
way. I can't believe
yeah.
that. You
Yep.
look amazing for
Thank you.
35. So that's good.
Thank you. Thank you. It's all
Yep.
in how you take care of the earth suit, right?
Yep.
So 40 years ago, when I started practicing veterinary medicine, like all veterinarians, we are conventionally trained. We were in that same paradigm model of name it, blame it, know the symptom, and then treat it with a pharmaceutical or a surgical procedure or chemo or whatever. And so that seemed to be working for me for a long time. And then I had a life-altering experience, which was an accident with my show horse and my youngest daughter. And my daughter was in the arena riding her horse, and in lineup, the horse reared in the air. Now, the number one cause of a rider's death is a horse falling and crushing them. So I had a little 50-pound child, a 2,000-pound horse. No one had taught my daughter that if your horse rears, just jump off to the side, go to safety. So she is literally hanging from the reins, dangling like a 50-pound bomb, pulling this horse over backwards. So it was inevitable, but the horse, feeling where my daughter was sliding to the left of the horse, squatted on her left hind leg and pushed herself as hard as she could to the right. Now, it wasn't a lot, but it was just enough so that when the horse toppled over and hit the ground, I couldn't see space between the horse and the rider. I jumped over the railing. By the time I got there, the horse had caught her breath and stood back up again. My daughter was on the ground, not moving. By the grace of God, she was fine. She never got crushed. She never got injured except for her pride. But back home, we had a couple of more incidences. And then I realized there was something wrong. I was literally standing next to Lily when this spasm, this like a seizure, went up her entire left side of her body. So I called equine veterinarians out to find out.
Lily was the name of the horse, obviously.
Yeah, Lily's the name of the horse. And so I called equine veterinarians out because I'm a small animal practitioner, so I stay in my lane. And they said, we really don't know exactly what's wrong with her, but we can tell you that she's not safe to ride. She'll never be shown again. And your two options are to put her out to a pasture or put her down. Now, this was a 7-year-old United States and Canadian national open champion who could also turn around and take a 10-year-old child safely around the arena. But the most important part of this story was that horse consciously saved my daughter's life. And there was nothing that I was willing to stop at. I was going to fix that horse. And so I didn't.
You felt a love and appreciation because she had saved your daughter. So
there's a level of gratitude. There's something that wakes up in you. And I don't even know if you can describe it or truly understand it, but it's this feeling that comes out of you that says, I have to find an answer. And so I had to look in areas where answers didn't exist, because back then we were just barely getting into functional medicine on the human side. It was absolutely not something talked about on the veterinary side. So I had nobody to turn to on the veterinary side. And I started seeking answers, again, where they just didn't exist. And little by little, I started implementing things that I could use.
What year was that?
Demi was 10 and she is now turning 29. So 19 years.
So yeah. It was like 2005.
2004, 2005. Yep.
Okay. Wow.
So I started, the first thing I did is I went to my human chiropractor, who was my personal chiropractor. And I said, I need you to show me how to adjust this horse, because he had just completed a course in veterinary chiropractics. So he taught me what to do. I ended up taking that course online so I could actually work on Lily. I used my laser, which I already had. And then I started incorporating everything that I could come across that might help her with inflammation and such. There was another veterinarian that I had met in that process who actually diagnosed her. And Lily had points. The horses grow points on the back of their teeth, and she was not getting her teeth filed properly. So these points were growing, locking her jaw. So when she had to tuck her neck in order to be able to stride out, she's an English horse, she couldn't do it. So she was straining her neck for years. I mean,
Oh,
even years before I purchased her, she was having this problem. And it
wow.
just became more and more accelerated as the years went by. And I didn't know that. So here we were getting ready to go on our national circuit. And I was taking all my equipment with me. And I was just going to make it work. And after being told that she would never be shown again and she would not be safe to ride, that beautiful little duo went on to win the United States Youth National Reserve Championship, which is the most prestigious horse show for youth riders in the entire United States.
Wow.
So I love telling the story because the message there is, even if somebody tells you or your loved one or about your pet, whatever, that there's nothing more that can be done, they're really just saying that they don't have anything else that can be done. They don't have a bigger toolkit. They don't have the knowledge. Doesn't mean it's not out there.
Right.
So you do not have to accept somebody else's limitations. You then have the power. I love Robert Scott Bell. You have the power to choose and to learn and to make actions based on what you decide is right for you and your loved ones, whether they're two-legged or four-legged, or it's you. So I have inspired so many people to seek answers where they didn't know they existed. And sometimes you have to create your own answers, and that's okay. So when I was creating the solutions for Lily, I started incorporating everything I learned for her into my small animal practice and, of course, my own personal life. And it became this miraculous transformation of my practice. And it's really interesting, John, because once you see, you can't unsee. Once you understand, you can't un-understand.
Oh,
so
that's
I can't
true.
go back. It's like once you see truth and once you see how things actually do work, you can't go back to the old ways. So it's really challenging for me. I was just in Brazil, and where was I? I was in Thailand. And I met
they're close, right?
They're really close, I know. But so I met these wonderful veterinarians who were doing amazing work out there with laser therapies. But when I looked in their waiting room, they still had processed foods for their patients. And I went, guys, no, you can't do that. If you're going to do the transformation, it has to be from inside out. And that includes what we eat and what we drink and our thoughts and our lifestyle. It's all of it. So
the funniest thing that you and I both do is we go to a health conference where they're talking about all these wonderful things we can eat. And then we go to eat the food that's provided by the hotel, and it's all processed food, cake, bread, gluten, sugar, everything like that. So on the event that we're having that you're invited to,
thank you.
We're going to make sure that it's a Robert Scott Bell approved restaurant from here locally in Arizona that's going to be doing the catering. So we're excited about that. But I wanted to go back to this story a little bit because this is fascinating to me. I have 11 children, as you both know, and my audience knows. But how was your daughter? What process did she have to go through at 10 years old to get back up on that horse? Because I know they always say, when you get bucked off, get back on that horse. But that's a lot easier to say than it is to do. So what process did she have to go through?
Oh, that's a great question. So she had another class in 2 classes. She was going to be riding a different horse. And I had to get all of her makeup cleaned up because she was crying. So all of her makeup was running down her face. I had to redo her hair. I had to change her clothes because it was a totally different class. And she got back up on her other horse and she went in and won her class. So thank God that worked out well.
Yeah, probably if she had to wait 2 or 3 weeks and think about it, she may not have had the same ability to get back on. So that was get back up on the horse right away if you can. And how about when she got back on Lily? What was the process to get her back up on Lily?
She was fine. She loved the horse loved her. But you know what? A couple of weeks later, we were back at home and we were at the training barn, and I was on a horse and my older daughter was on a horse, and then my youngest was back on Lily. And I heard this commotion, and when I turned around, I saw the trainer yank Demi off the horse and then started pounding on the reins. And I was like, what is going on? What are you doing? And she said, well, I saw Lily doing the same thing that she did in the arena, and she thought she was spooking at something. But in actuality, she was having this severe neck spasm, and she couldn't control it. It was just like her whole neck looked like she was having a seizure. So it was after that I realized it wasn't that she was spooking. She was having a pain episode. And that's when I had doctors come out and start looking at her. And then we started working on her. And we were able to keep all of that inflammation under control with the therapies that we were doing.
Yeah, well, that's a fascinating story. I remember watching you speak the first time, and I was so impressed by your speech in person, and the actual, you had the slides and everything like that. And what an amazing story! Such a triumph over, most people, like you said, would have just taken the easy way out, put the horse out to pasture, and maybe if they couldn't afford to feed it, maybe that would be the best. There would be other things, but you didn't give up, and I know Lily enjoyed a good life after that. So yeah. Now let's move into basically my favorite subject, or the subject I deal with all the time, is what kind of trends are you seeing? This is not my favorite. I don't like to use the word favorite. This is a subject I try to talk about in Operation World Without Cancer, and on Hidden Healings Uncensored, the disease that's the number 2 killer of humans. I don't know where it ranks for pets, but what are the current trends that you're seeing in small pet cancers?
So 40 years ago, when I started practicing, we would see 1 or 2 cancer cases a year, 1 or 2 a year. And then about 20 plus years ago, I started seeing an increase in how many cancers. It went from 1 a week to a couple a week. And then it was, now we see anywhere from 2 to 10 a week. And these are new cases that are coming in from all over the United States. So it is very, very prevalent. In fact, the statistics in dog cancers, they say, is 1 out of 1.65, which is higher than human men, but it's almost 100%. In cats, they say, is 1 out of 3, and I think that's highly underreported. I'm doing an article for a magazine right now on oral tumors in animals, and oral tumors make up somewhere between 15 and 25% of all the tumors that animals get. So it is a humongous problem. And not only are they getting tumors now, but now they're getting what we're calling turbo cancers, because they are so accelerated past what we initially had. These things are really on fire. They're really turbo cancers.
And what do you think the cause of that is? The general cause of it? What, I know you and I have talked in the past about what ways to prevent it, but what's the main cause of it? Or do you think there's several causes of it right now?
So there's 4 main things that lead to chronic degeneration, cancer, any other degenerative disease. Number 1 is deficiencies, and those are deficiencies of the essential nutrients that the body needs to do its job. We are a machine. So there are certain vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, and light that are required for our bodies to function properly. Number 2 is the toxicities. And we know just since World War II, there have been over 100,000 synthetic toxins that have been developed and released into the food, into the water, into the animals, into the environment that we are becoming exposed to. So chemtrails, all this stuff is accumulating, and our bodies were just never designed to withstand that level of toxicity. So for most individuals, it's that combination of deficiency and toxicity. Now, think about the fact that we have not had regenerative agriculture for a very long time. So these monocrops that have been developed are grown on nutrient depleted soils. Even if it's organic, that just simply means they're not spraying as much chemical on that. Doesn't guarantee you what the nutrient value of the food is. So these essential nutrients are the ones your body can't produce in sufficient quantities. You have to eat them. So deficiency and toxicity. Number 3 is mitochondrial dysfunction. So our mitochondria are the little powerhouses or organisms that live inside our body. We have trillions of them, and they're responsible for making energy. They're also responsible for the communication between themselves and the microbiome, all of the viruses, bacteria, fungi, all of those organisms. They communicate back and forth through the fascia, and they determine what gene sequences need to be expressed. That's what we call epigenetics. So you may have genetic programming, that's the gun, but you don't pull the trigger until the epigenetics influence you to a way that you're telling the genes, oh, we need to have you turned on because there's awful dangerous things out there. So those are the 3 main components. And then number 4, a lot of people don't talk about, but it's becoming much more of a topic, are trapped emotions. So for all dis-ease, there are always trapped emotions associated with them. And it's not that much of a stretch because a lot of people understand from Chinese medicine that each organ in the body has a particular emotion associated with it. So your liver is all about anger and frustration. Your kidneys and your bladder are about fear. And then, we have every organ has its thing. So now we understand that these trapped emotions can get stuck into our tissues when people are dealing with the traumas that they have. So think about a lot of women getting breast cancer. Yes, xenoestrogens are a part of that, but it's also almost always related to some kind of a grief event that they were unable to process, a sudden type of trauma that they couldn't quite process. And it settles in those lungs into the breast tissue, and then you get manifestation of dis-ease.
Wow. Yeah. So that's the same thing with animals, and probably the emotional component for animals is highly related to their owners or their family, their parents, their pet, their adult, their human parents. Let's call it that.
Yes.
That's what their emotions are going through. Even though the animals are great for helping them, they're probably on the reverse, in a way, harming their animals by their emotions that they're carrying over to their pets.
Yes, 100%. And we don't want a pet parent out there go, oh my God, I caused my animal to have cancer because I had anger issues or because of whatever. It's not that. I really do think that these animals are sentient beings. I think they come to be part of our healing and our education and our ascension. Because think about it, if you have a pet, you'll know this, you are super upset about something. You've had a trauma in your life and you're just crying your eyes out. Who comes over and gets on your lap or sits next to you or puts their head underneath your hand, and then not even thinking about it, you start petting them, and within just a couple of minutes you start to feel a little better, you start to feel a little lighter. And that's because they're entraining their unconditional love to us so that we can manage this very heavy, dense third dimension. And plants do the same thing. We talk all the time about going out into the garden or walking through a forest or standing on the ground with your bare feet. All of these things help to create these positive feelings. The negative ions are flowing through us. And so we are taking the energy from the planet and we can use that energy for our highest and best good. There are some people out there that have not realized that they can take the energy that they need from the surroundings and they become an energy vampire. Those are the people that suck you dry. When you get done dealing with them, you have to go take a nap because you are just drained. And it's not that they're being mean or evil. They truly are trying to replace their energy. They just don't realize they can go hug a tree and do the same thing.
Yeah, just last night I came home and we have a cat named Gizmo. He's the whole family loves him. Chris has my wife, your good friend Christina, has a name I won't repeat on the show, but anyway, he just came over to me and just sensed that I needed it and sat on my lap. And I've seen him around the house, but he hasn't really come over. And it was kind of really uplifting and fun that he put that energy into me. So that helped me get up this morning and deal with all that's going on. So much is going on in this world. So let's talk about for my audience, some solutions to these four main causes for their pets. And of course they can take it for their own personal life, but let's specifically on people's pets. What are some solutions for these four main issues that are causing cancer to go from 1 or 2 cases a year to 2 to 10 cases a week? That's incredible. Just in your practice, if we multiply that across the whole universe of pet doctors, you can imagine the numbers are just astounding.
Yeah, it really is sad. So I have a 6-step process that I use. It can be implemented to stay healthy, or it can be implemented when you're having a challenge. And this is available as a free download. It's holistichealingvet.com or my website, dr, like drmarlenesiegel.com. So either way, you can get a more detailed PDF of this. So number 1, John, people have to stop doing the things that are causing the disease. Okay. We are creating the problem with our lifestyle and our choices. We've grown up in a world of fast, cheap, and convenient, and we are now paying a dear, dear price by giving away our power, allowing others to be in control of our health, instead of us being in control of our health and using our critical thinking skills is really what it is. These have been taught out of our students, our children. They don't know how to think critically. So step number one, we have to stop doing the things that are causing the disease. And that covers the area of food. What are we feeding these animals? I always go back to a species appropriate diet. If you can't figure out what that is, go watch National Geographics and watch what a carnivore eats in the wild. They're going to hunt down an animal. They're going to kill it. They're going to eat it right there because that's how they were designed by nature to get their meals. If nature designed them to eat kibble, frankenfood, there would have been a system in nature that created that. But there
But with
isn't.
a little lever dropping these hard pellets of grossness out. No, yeah, that wouldn't happen.
Right? So if nature intended that, there would have been a model for that. There is no model for that. So, number one, we have to realize that frankenfood was developed as a convenience to processing of human food and dealing with the waste product. Simple as that. And it became a huge industry. They try to add all the synthetic junk back into it to make it complete and balanced, but it's still junk. So that's step number one. Water is another major area. The tap water that we're all having run into our sinks is horrible. I live in Florida. We have about the worst water of anywhere. They're loaded with heavy metals. They're loaded with glyphosate. All kinds of hormones, chemicals, and pesticides are in that water. Please do not give your pets the water out of the tap. So we could have a whole show on water, but just if anybody would like to know more, then just contact me and I'll give them a whole lecture on structured, filtered water, and ideally with hydrogen in it. Number three is the environment. What is the air quality in your house? Are you guys still cleaning your house with chemicals, with petroleum-based products? Are you still burning candles and plug-ins that have all these chemicals in them? Hopefully not, but at the end of this talk, you won't be anymore, and we'll give you solutions to clean and have better air quality with other things. Check for mold, check for the products that you're washing your laundry in, because your pets, even though they may not be wearing clothes, they lay on your bed, they lay on your lap, so they are in contact with the products that you're washing with. What shampoos are you using? Anything that's absorbed through their skin is going to be important to make sure that it's natural and healthy for them. EMF, electromagnetic frequencies. This is a really passionate and big area of mine because I do live blood studies. That's where we look at red blood cells under a microscope. And a healthy red blood cell is separated from all the other red blood cells. What separates them is this negatively charged film called structured water or fourth phase water. When we are exposed to electromagnetic pollution, that fourth phase of water collapses. The cells no longer have the ability to separate themselves from their neighbors, and they get sticky. It's a condition called rouleau. And now these cells are sticking to each other. Why that's a problem is because when they're sticking to each other, they can no longer utilize their entire surface membrane. Think about a tennis ball. When it's in a bucket by itself of water, all the water's touching every surface of that tennis ball. But if I pack that bucket together with so many tennis balls that there's almost no room for the water, now each tennis ball is up against another tennis ball, 3 or 4 different ones. The surface area is no longer available to do its job, picking up oxygen, delivering it to the tissue, picking up waste material, taking it out the body. Yeah. So that's really important that we do something to understand what is the amount of EMF pollution in your house. You have to test it. You can't look around, you can't see it, can't smell it, can't taste it. So you do have to test, and there's good meters out there so you can see what the problem is. You want to be as far away from the EMF as possible. My utilities company forced me to put a 5G meter on. I put a Faraday cage around it so that it lessens the amount of damage. But I had problems with my bees after that until I used an environmental conditioner, which then changed the frequencies that were bombarding me from my neighbors, from my own 5G meter, from the Wi-Fi in my house, from the electricity running through my house, which is dirty electricity. Now I have a conditioner that I use on my property, and it changes about 1.5 acres of space around me so that the incoherent light reconditions back to coherent light, which is the light that our bodies engage with. And it was very interesting. I raised bees, and my beehive had left after the meter got put in a few months after that.
That's not
But
an
when
example of the proof is in the pudding. I mean, we could all
Yeah.
talk about it, but that's they're like, we're out of here. And you're like,
Yeah.
I got to live here. I can't just pick up and leave
Yeah.
like that. So
But what happened, what was so fascinating is I put the light tower conditioner on my property, and the bees came back to the same hive. It may not have been the same, colony. Maybe it was a new queen, but they came back because they only live 45 days. But
right.
how
Yeah.
interesting that they literally came back to my property and are thriving.
Wow.
So I think that's really interesting. And then the last area for things that we have to stop doing is the ants in our brain, the automatic negative thoughts. This is super important. And honestly, I can tell if somebody brings me their pet and it has cancer, if they are consumed with negative thoughts, and it could be fear, it could be shame, it could be guilt, it could be anger, frustration, bitterness, victimhood, whatever, I have a much harder time healing that animal, because what happens is when we're in that state of negativity, we're creating neurotransmitters. Remember, we're communicating to ourselves through our neurochemicals. So we're basically telling ourselves there's a horrible environment out here. There's danger. The universe is collapsing. Mother Earth, being the body, is going down the tubes. That's what you're telling yourselves when you're staying in that kind of negative vibration.
Elitist media deceives, but Faith and Freedom TV amplifies truth. Our world-leading platform delivers news, teachings, worship, movies, and music rooted in biblical values and constitutional patriotism, inspiring faith and liberty. We inspire, equip, and amplify Christian patriots to share powerful stories of faith, family, and freedom. With live events, thousands of on-demand videos, and apps.
Well, your pets are in training to your energy. Just like you're in training to them, they're in training to you. So you're basically telling your pet in an energetic way that there's terrible dangers out there. They don't know that there isn't a saber-toothed tiger. They just know you're acting like there's a saber-toothed tiger. So they stay in high sympathetic drive. And the sympathetic nervous system is our system to be able to allow us to run when there's danger or fight if there's a danger so that we could survive. So it's a great system. Just wasn't meant to stay on 24/7. But in the sad day that we live, with sleep deprivation, with the EMF, with all of the stresses of raising a family and children and bills that we have to pay and political things
and
going
elections and the stressful night we all went through on Tuesday night, last Tuesday.
Yeah. And then God forbid you watch mainstream news, gosh almighty, you can't sleep after that. So all of these things contribute to what I call the sad day, the standard American day. So you're doing nothing but staying in high sympathetic tone, which when you stay in that condition, you cannot heal, because we only heal on the opposite leg of the teeter-totter, which is the parasympathetic nervous system. So you have sympathetic and parasympathetic, and they're on a teeter-totter. When you're in balance, everybody's having a little bit of each. But when you have a really stressful event and all of a sudden your sympathetic tone goes super high, you literally turn off your parasympathetic nervous system, and then you can't heal. And that happens to our pets as well. So these are really important things to think about. Keep a journal. How many times do you have negative thoughts in a given day? Can you reframe those negative thoughts? Because honestly, in my world, in my opinion, I do 100% believe that everything happens for our highest and best good, and that we create what's happening in our environment. So what I mean by that is we create the flow and the contrast. Flow is when we're happy, we're in bliss, and everything's going great, and everything falls in place, and we call it serendipity. But then when we have the conflict, or we have the resistance, that's when everything we do starts to fall apart, and the doors close and the windows close, and you're having trauma nonstop, and you sit there and go, why is this all happening to me? Well, it's happening to you because God, the universe, is trying to get your attention and say, you're not going where we need you to go. So let's step back from the picture and really take a good look at what's going on and say, do I want to have a different perspective? Do I want to go down a different path? Maybe I shouldn't be going where I am going. What if I took a different turn? And when we can step back from that, we lose all identity to being a victim. We own everything that we create, good, bad, and indifferent. And then we can start to create our life from the place that we really are supposed to be creating from. And that's from joy and love and compassion and gratitude. So we just have to reframe where we are emotionally and be aware of the fact that if you're stuck in those negative emotions, they're there to tell you, hey, you got a computer program running. How do we delete a file off the computer? You hit the delete button, don't you?
Absolutely.
But the computer will always ask you, are you sure? And so you have to confirm you're ready to delete that. When we're deleting emotions, and there's many different techniques to do this for people, but when we're doing it, our subconscious brain does the same thing. It goes, oh, hold on. I don't know where you're going, and you're going to leave an abyss, and I don't know what to fill it with because I haven't had another program running to replace it. So I'm not sure I want to let you do that. And so our subconscious brain and our filters come in and say, gatekeeper, we need to have some safety here, even though it's the wrong decision. It's the only one I know. So working with practitioners who know how to reframe nervous system dysregulation and how to retrain our thoughts and replace them with healthier thoughts, it's a wonderful thing. And I really encourage everybody to become conscious. How many times a day do you have negative thoughts, or do negative things come out of your mouth? So the minute something starts to come out of my mouth, I go, oh. No, I didn't mean that. What I meant to think and say is, and then I reprogram it to be something wonderful. And that isn't being a pie in the sky. That isn't ignoring that bad things happen to us, but we still have to find the blessing. And we're all old enough to look back on our life and see those moments, those pivotal forks in the road where something happened, which we thought was horrible. But then when we go down 1, 2, 10 years later and we look back and we go, what a blessing that was. Because if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't have done that, and I wouldn't be here where I am today. So we all have those opportunities. We just have to choose how we want to perceive it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell my audience that you really are a person that practices what you preach, and people can see why you and I are good friends. And from the very beginning, I felt your heart and your soul. And you also do, when you're out and about traveling or whatever, you also do practice what you preach about what you eat, what you put into your body, what you bring with you, the choices you make, the menu choices you make. So it really is you're really a person that really does lead by example. So I appreciate that. What I'd like to do now, yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely. It's heartfelt. What I'd like to do now is if you wouldn't mind giving my audience a little virtual tour of your office. Not, obviously we're going to say virtual. We can't show pictures or things like that, but some of the modalities I'm fascinated. I was so fascinated when I took a tour of your office, just some of the things you offer at your practice that are in person. I know you do a lot of telemedicine as you want to speak. You do a lot of consultations over the phone, but what kind of things are cutting edge or that you really find exciting or different that are in your office?
Okay, before I answer that, I'm going to finish your first question, which I apologize I didn't finish all the way.
Oh.
Step number 1 of the 6-step process was stop doing the things that are causing the problem.
Right.
Step number 2, making sure we supply the body with all the essential nutrients it needs. Number 3, we heal the leaky gut. Number 4 is detoxification of all 6 organs of elimination: kidney, colon, lungs, liver, skin, lymphatics, and fascia. They go together. And then number 5 is supporting the mitochondria. So we have bigger, healthier, more vibrant mitochondria. And then number 6 is clearing trapped emotions. So that's the 6 steps, and you can get that in a PDF. Now, the things that I do in my office in bioregulatory medicine, we're targeting the actual biochemical pathways that help the body to function. So the very first thing that happens in my office is, the first thing that happens is we do a physical exam, we get a good history, and then we do the right diagnostic testing to see what are the deficiencies, what are the toxicities, what's happening to create mitochondrial dysfunction, and then I, of course, assess the emotions of the pet parent because that tells me so much about what's happening in the pet. Then we start a treatment program. So we go through with the owners based on the test results, of course. This gets tweaked. But step number one is we got to get into a parasympathetic state. You know, the state that I just told you is where we have to be in order to start the healing process. So we have a machine that the patient goes into. It's like a big gyroscope, and it has these copper coils that produces these frequencies, and we can dial them to all sympathetic frequencies, all parasympathetic frequencies, or a combination. So depending on what we're treating. But when we start the program, they are pure parasympathetic, and we want them to relax. We want them to be calm. We want their body to go into a state where it can heal. And then we start detoxification, because you never, ever, ever want to start killing cancer cells or stirring up the bottom of the pot if it doesn't have a place to go. So we make sure that we're helping the liver to be supported, the fascia, the lymphatics. So we have, for the liver, we do infrared therapy, full spectrum in my world, because I model what the sun does. I do what nature does, and nature created a sun that is full spectrum. So to me, it just makes sense. I don't want to argue, is the near infrared better? Is the far infrared better? They all work together to do their own special magic. So I work with full infrared spectrums. And then we have ozone, which is also a wonderful tool for helping not only with repair, with oxygenation, with detoxification, but also for mitochondrial support. And then we do lymphatic therapy. So we have a special machine that has glass probes, and we have microcurrents and ERT gases, and we help to decongest the body in particular patterns. And then we sweep all of that lymphatic into these drainage areas that we've previously opened with these machines. And then we put them in a foot bath to help get the toxins out. And then we have a fascia decompression program that we teach the pet parent to do, which is really neat. So that's on my website. If anybody would like to take that extra step, it's probably one of the most important things that a pet parent can do is the fascia decompression. Requires no tools, your hands and your time and your love. And that's all. And we teach you how to do little guys, and we teach you how to do big guys. We also do hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which of course is all about taking oxygen and pushing it deeper into the tissues, which aids in detoxification and oxygenation and mitochondrial health. And then the one tool that I think is very unique in my practice is we do photodynamic therapy, which is light therapy. And we can take fiber optics and actually go into a vein and actually illuminate the red blood cells, so that the red blood cell is now being saturated with these different colors of light, from ultraviolet all the way up to blue, yellow, green, red, and infrared. And when we are able to take that light energy and absorb into the red blood cell, that red blood cell then becomes the carrier of that light around the body, and it delivers it to the tissues that need it the most. We are light beings. We are frequency beings. We are light beings, but we are becoming very light deficient. So I alluded to that in the very beginning of our conversation when we were talking about deficiencies. We are not getting outside. People that live in the winter areas where they don't have a lot of sunlight, you can't help that. That's where you live. I'm in Florida, thank goodness, because I have a lot of exposure to light. But a lot of people, even here in Florida, they get up when it's dark, they drive to work, they're in these artificial light environments all day long, and then they drive home at night, and then they're back in their house, and they never really go outside. So it's very detrimental, because that light is absolutely required for our metabolic pathways to function properly. But with our photodynamic therapy,
just to point out with you, I don't want to interrupt you because you're on a roll, but you have this angelic light on the side of you. So as you're speaking about light, Like literally, it's like you're
I see
glowing.
it.
You're glowing. No, it's fantastic. So the audience knows. Again, you put it out to the universe, and there it is, and it's fantastic. So my audience will love that. So
Oh,
keep
that's
going
great.
with the
All right.
yeah.
So with this with low level light therapy or photobiomodulation is when we just use light to activate the enzymes that the body produces on its own. But then we can do what's called photodynamic therapy, and that's where we give the body a photoactivator, curcumin, riboflavin, vitamin C. There's a lot of them. And we give these photoactivators, and then we follow it with the wavelength of light that we scientifically know will photoactivate that chemical. And so it's almost like you're taking it and you're 100xing it for its activity. So the enzyme activity is going to be much, much stronger. It's going to make these reactive oxygen species in the cancer tissue. It's very selective. And then it causes the death of that cancer tissue. So these are just some of the tools that we use in my office, but we also make sure that we dial in the right nutrition, species appropriate diet. And then we have supplements that our patients go on that were supposed to be designed in our natural diet, but they are no longer in our diet. And B17, our apricot seeds, is one of those. So we literally have pathways in our body that were designed to eat foods that are high in B17, mung beans, cassava. There's lots of things out there. But again, we've become so narrow focused in what we eat that we're not eating those foods. And so therefore we're not taking in that natural form of B17 for our bodies to use on a day-to-day basis. We make cancer cells every day, literally every day.
No
But
question
when
about it.
you have the pathways, when you're activating those pathways with the right nutrients that can then look at that abnormal cell and say, hey, you don't belong here. We have this condition called apoptosis. You're going to go do programmed cell death. Then it's a wonderful system. But we become so out of balance between the nutrient deficiencies, between the toxicities, between the lack of taking in the right foods that nourish our bodies so that they work properly. It's a disaster. And that's why we're seeing the rates of cancer that we are in our pets and in people.
Absolutely, no question about it. So I'm fascinated to know. Last time you and I talked, you had a case that you had just been in, and I could see it in your soul that you had a success story, but kind of ended not in a success, and it was related to a pet that probably stayed with you. Do you have any recent stories you can tell our audience of successes, or some stories that maybe give people hope about their pet friends?
Absolutely. So I am wrapping up an article that I'm writing for Redstone Magazine. They have a publication called, I think it's called Integrated Veterinary Medicine or something like that. But you write to me and I can send you a copy of the article. I'm also getting ready to speak at the Red Pill in 48 hours. Well, by the time this airs, of course, it'll be past, but I'm speaking on turbo cancers, and I'm showing case after case after case of animals that we've been able to make. Now, you got to remember, this is not a pill for the ill. It's not a diet for the disease. We have to change lifestyle. We have to change diet. We have to get the body back online so that it can detoxify, that it has the nutrients it needs. And then we're also even moving into doing immune regulation, checkpoint inhibitors. So lots of different things that are coming into play now, where we're able to really make a difference on these cancers, not just the cancer, but the cancer stem cells. And that's an important distinguish, because we can get rid of a lot of tumors. Hell, you can cut a tumor out and it may look like you got it out, but they're stem cells, and those stem cells are going to travel and go to other areas. A cancer cell is simply a rogue cell who has lost communication with the body. It's still your cell or your pet's body cell, but it no longer has communication, so that when it becomes damaged, no one's telling it to go kill yourself. It's not being told to go through that apoptosis phase. So if no one's telling you what to do, what are you going to try to do? You're going to try to survive. And so that's what it does. It keeps trying to grow, even though ultimately it's going to be the demise of the organism that it's in. So understanding that, how do we approach these cancers? So we work on the primary tumor, but we're also working on the terrain. And the terrain is the environment that we call home. That's everything in us and on us and how we function. When the terrain is healthy, then we don't have a lot of pathogens, and we have check and balance systems that take care of those pathogens for us. And we don't have to think about it. They're already built into our body. But when the terrain becomes so imbalanced that those organisms that we call our microbiome, they think that mothership's going down, they start creating pathogens. And these pathogens are the mutation of your healthy guys, your healthy microbiome, that are just trying to survive. They're trying to pass their gene pool on to the next organism so that they don't become obsolete or extinct. So it's not an evil thing, and it's not the bacteria that's the issue. It's not the parasites that is the issue. It's the terrain being so imbalanced that the healthy guys are not living in our balanced, harmonious state. So we get all these abnormal pathogenic, it's no longer homeostasis. It's major imbalance.
Absolutely. So give us an example. I know we have about 2 more minutes left, and I know I'm really excited that you put it out there about Red Pill Expo. I'll be watching on it right now.
Yeah.
If you go to our website, you can still sign up for free to watch Marlene speak and others. And yes, even if this comes out after, you'll still be able to go to our website and get the replays for a period of time. G. Griffin really went above and beyond to put this together and make it available to people. So give people a quick story if you can. We got about 1.5 minutes. I know that I've cut you to the end, but what's a
so we have
story?
Maybell. Maybell is a beautiful Weimaraner, grand national champion. She's a beautiful dog, and she's pretty young. And she developed an oral tumor called a fibrosarcoma. The original vet took the tumor off, but didn't do anything else, didn't do any testing, whatever. And so the tumor grew right back. So she came to me, and the owner is amazing. This is this incredible mom that is just willing to do whatever it takes to heal this dog. And in 16 weeks, right now, we don't see any evidence of tumor in her mouth. And when you see the pictures and how big this thing got, it was so large she couldn't close her mouth. And we had to surgically go in and resect it at that point. And we were already doing weeks of detoxification and all our cancer modalities. And all of a sudden, it's gone. It was
That's
just
fantastic.
really amazing to watch.
And I know those stories happen quite a bit, and we're hearing all these stories about people that are healing themselves naturally with their God-given immune system and the pet's God-given immune system. So, Marlene, where can people find you if they want to catch up with you? And also, what would you like to leave our audience with?
drmarlenesiegel.com is everything me. So, just spell my name right and you can get there. And that's the hub of everything I have. And what I want to leave people with is the empowerment that they truly can make the decision and the choices and take the physical actions to create the life that they really came here to do. We all came here for a special purpose. Every single one of us is special. And when we take ownership of who we are, our circumstances, and we make a choice of what we want to do differently, and then we take physical action to make that happen, miracles happen. And we can heal this planet, we can heal our pets, we can heal ourselves and those that we love. So I have the trust and faith that we can do this.
Awesome. God bless you, Dr. Marlene Siegel. You are an amazing woman. I am so lucky to have you as a friend. And thank you for gracing us here at Hidden Healings Uncensored. We'll see you next time. And I look forward to spending more time with you and catching up on more exciting stories of healing. God bless you.
Absolutely. God bless everybody.
Access on Roku, FireTV, Apple TV, Android, and iOS. We're transforming culture globally for God and country. New content is coming to ignite faith. Join our mission. The markets are in turmoil. Global trade disputes, government debt, and economic shifts are creating unprecedented uncertainty. Yet, gold and silver remain the ultimate safe haven assets, thriving when chaos reigns. Kirk Elliott Precious Metals empowers you to safeguard your future. Call 720-605-3900 or visit kepm.com/B2T to discover how to reposition your portfolio into low-cost, fully liquid gold and silver bullion. Unlike firms pushing overpriced rare coins, KEPM educates you, avoids high commissions, and charges nothing when you liquidate. With governments and banks scrambling, now is your chance to invest in assets that have stood the test of time. Join thousands who trust KEPM to protect their retirement with integrity. Call 720-605-3900 or go to kepm.com/B2T today to seize this historic bull market opportunity.
Hello, I'm Jordan, and this is my brother.
And I'm Nace, and we're the Grid Down Chowdown. And this is Larry, who is a local rancher that we've partnered with.
Now, Larry, you've been ranching for over 4 generations, is that correct?
That's correct. I'm 3rd generation, my son's 4th generation, and I've got some grandkids that are 5th generation.
Man, that's awesome.
We've been here for quite a while, yeah.
All right, now, Larry, your cattle is grass-fed, grass-finished, and pasture-raised just like God intended them to be.
Yes, because I want to know what's in that animal.
Right.
What it's been fed. And so the only way to do that is for us to keep it all natural, just like God has done it for years and years and years, thousands of years.
How has partnering up with us helped you and your ranch?
Well, it's allowed us to develop a market that we didn't have before, one that can get directly to the consumer, and that's great.
And just remember, more importantly, with every package that you buy, we put a salvation track in there. So from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for allowing us to do what we believe that God has us here to do. And just remember, God loves you. He really does.
Transform your health with the power of light. Introducing the future of natural healing. Are you seeking a natural, effective way to enhance your well-being, reduce pain, and accelerate healing? If you're looking for quick fixes or ignoring the importance of natural health solutions, this might not be for you. Backed by years of research and testimonials from health professionals, our quantum energy infrared light harnesses the scientifically proven benefits of red and infrared light therapy. Designed for those who value holistic health practices, our device offers a non-invasive, drug-free method to support your body's natural healing processes. Visit QEstrong.com now to discover how quantum energy can revolutionize your health routine. Experience deeper sleep, enhanced muscle recovery, reduced inflammation, and improved skin health, all with just a few minutes of use each day. Don't miss out on the healing power of quantum energy. Visit QEstrong.com and learn more to take the first step toward the healthier you. Join the thousands who have already discovered the life-changing benefits of quantum energy. It's time to prioritize your health and well-being. Unlock the healing power of light.